Hello, Bl'Art here, with Dragon Sitting in Heaven, the Balthier Heretics Shinryu fight. We're bringing a team of Faris, Galuf, and Kor. Before we get too deep into it, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell, leave a comment down below. I know it's a lot to ask, and you don't have to do all those things. You know what? 2 out of 4 ain't bad. Appreciate it. So we did the 0 boss turn strategy, and it worked really well. So I figured let's do the many boss turn strategy. It also worked really well. I know there are a bunch of different off-turn strategies and teams that have worked well here. You know, Reno, Balthier is an off-turn kind of enabler. Orin, Beatrix, Gao with an E-Sphere. Same with Orin with an E-Sphere. Vanilla Sphere is doing great. Galuf and Kor, of course, are all just great options. We are drowning in off-turn damage units. That's kind of an issue, I think. I'll touch on that in a second, but so I guess we'll briefly talk before we get into that about what we got going on here team-wise. Why I picked the team I did. One, Faris, I like Faris. She's a Dispeller, which you want for this fight. That's kind of easy. Kor is here because he's a broken FR. Really good. Just I'd say low-key one of the best FRs you could pick up, if not the best. Just because he's so flexible in his usage. You know, you just plug him in a team and he just does great stuff. And if you plug him in a team you build around, it's even better. I mean, I know like Renoa and Tifa exist, but like, my gut's telling me Kor is going to age better than they do. I could be wrong on that. Not like looking forward to JP or anything like that. Just the way the character's designed, I feel like he is going to have a better shelf life than they do. I could be completely off base on that because those two are broken. I don't know. It could just be because I like using him more than them. And then Galuf is here because he double dips on his counters basically every time. He trivializes this fight because they do just mostly single target physical attacks for him to double counter, and on the occasions where they're not doing single target physical attacks, they're targeting all, so Kor's going to get the double dip. So we are just eating them off-turn triggers up. But yeah, this fight, I mean, it has some okay mechanics going on, I think. You know, the buffs are something you have to interact with. They buff very frequently, and if they hit 8, that's a problem for you. And some of the buffs are actually really meaningful and you want to get rid of them, so you can't just ignore the buffs. I mean, unless you're doing some kind of ridiculous charging strategy. That's kind of, I think, a good state for the game to be in, you know, where, like, the choices that you make in the fight matter, and you have to kind of interact with what the bosses are doing. I mean, unless you execute tightly, in which case, that in itself is kind of its own decision point, is, you know, just a really tight kind of execution to hit the narrow window where they don't buff themselves or something like that. They've gotten their Brave Resistance buff up now, so we're going to go ahead and just kind of suffer through that for a bit until Faris has a chance to go. Unfortunately, because they're taking 1 Brave damage, Faris is going to get broken, so Galuf's going to have to take a turn before Faris, but we can deal with that. There we go. Luckily, we have a lot of battery on the team, so we don't really care. You'll see there, actually, we brought a Dispel Call. 2 of them, actually. Kor and Galuf both have Dispel Calls. Specifically, I was thinking if on turn 2 with 2 turns left on the Force time, they had a Brave Shield up, I could Dispel and then go into Brothers, as opposed to the Shield eating Brothers' damage, but it doesn't end up coming up, as you'll see. We also brought Luna Freya Call on Faris, because I originally was trying to use Faris' FR to get through this fight, and I found that Faris runs into this problem where, because she's so slow, she'll often have more than one action you want to pull off in a turn. Refresh the EX, refresh her skill 1, Dispel with skill 2, use her LD. I mean, her Force at least dispels, so that, like, saves some trouble, but you see what I'm saying. And because she's so slow, it can be really hard to get all the actions you need in time. So I figured Luna Freya Call would help with that, but we ended up not using her Force because the fact that they have no debuffs means no on-turn bonus boosting, and we can't have that. I mean, sure, we probably could get away with it if we wanted to, but then we'd eat an enemy Force time, and that just sucks. That's lame. Now that we're in Force time, thanks Kor, who basically in this fight is a better Faris. The fight's kind of over. You know, they've stacked up their turns. We're gonna get a bunch of off-turn counter damage. We no longer have to think about what we're doing. Not that we were thinking a whole lot before, but like before there was at least a little bit of a decision point around like what we do on Faris' turns, stuff like that. I feel like that's kind of my issue with the Shinryu era at this point. especially with all these off-turn damage dealers we have right here. And it feels like they're kind of interchangeable to a degree. Like, yes, they have nuance, but I think that's my issue with... I said we were drowning in off-turn damage dealers, and I meant that in kind of a negative thing, because I feel like it sort of devalues it. It devalues each individual character when there's so many different good options you can use. You know, like, Galuf isn't shining because Auron's also shining, and Gao's also shining, and Beatrix is also shining. Okay, maybe not Beatrix, but you know what I mean. Like, it just feels like it kind of trivializes each character if they're all really good at the same time. Then again, I don't know. Maybe if you're enjoying this sort of thing, good. It is good that people have options. So like, if you skipped Gladio, oh well, it's okay. You have Galuf, who's still really good. Or oh, you skipped Galuf. Oh well, Auron, you know, you have him and he's really good. Oh, you skipped both. Well, Gladio came out, he's really. And I'm not saying you should skip for one of them or the other. I'm like, the fact that I guess everyone's pretty much guaranteed at this point to have at least one good off-turn unit they can use is that's probably a good thing. I just feel like it kind of dilutes the team-building decision-making because they all are really good. Like, which one do you pick? It doesn't matter. I picked Galuf here. I could have used Auron or Gladio, or probably Gao would have been fine. You see what I'm saying? I think my other issue with the Shinryu era is also kind of being played out here because I'm ranting about just state of the game stuff without talking about what's going on in the game, because it doesn't matter what's going on in the game, because the game's playing itself at this point. I probably could auto plus and it'd be fine. I'm not going to because I trust no one but myself. But it does feel like with the Force era, it feels like the decisions you make leading up to Force time, they're important, they matter, because if you screw up your setup, you're probably killed your run. But like, they don't feel as meaningful because you're chipping. It feels like here's I think my issue. During previous years, Chaos, Lufania, whatever, mostly Lufania because of what I'm about to talk to you. It was totally possible to play like, we'll call it an Excalibur style, phase skipping, threshold skipping, kind of mechanic skipping fight style, team style. It was a totally valid way to play. You set up a really crazy burst phase, you blow up half that boss's health, they don't do a mechanic, whatever. And that was a valid way to play, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it wasn't the only way to play. You could also kind of engage interactively with the boss in the fight, and you weren't playing around humongous damage windows every time you played. Sometimes you could just play, I'm going to play kind of a standard slow and steady sort of style that's just going to, consistently chip down the boss, deal with the mechanics, and play at the pace I want to play at. And I feel like that's kind of been lost a little bit. A lot bit, actually, because now your every fight is playing around big damage windows. Even if you're playing kind of an interactive team, like I did Lead Edward Agrius for the live stream a week or two ago, and it went fine, but like even then it felt like I was playing around burst damage windows, and it feels like the number of ways you can play the game has been reduced, which is, I don't think it's great. I've talked it before. This game is about diversity of experience, the range of characters and the different types of fights and different ways you can play and build your teams. So I think the game suffers for that a little bit. That said, I will say, I know, the devs are working on that. In JP, the bosses are getting the force time faster. Like, the devs are aware of this and are working to remedy it. And I appreciate that. They really, I don't think they're phoning it in. I think they're working consistently to be responsive to feedback and make the game better. Not every game does that, so I am very grateful for that. I just, I just figure that, until we get to that point, and it's actually better, I'm probably going to comment on it, because that's what I'm experiencing right now. You'll see here we use brothers to blow them up. Anyway, this got a bit ranty. I didn't really have anything else to talk about, because we're just countering them the whole time. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching through to the end. Hope it was informative, maybe? I don't know. And I will see you in the next video. Stay warm out there. It's getting chilly. Adios.